Hey everybody, welcome to Morning Glory Farmstead. My name is Lolly and this channel is all about gardening, animals, and nature. And this is what's been going on the past couple of days again. All right, today I'm going to start pruning my green stalks after weeks of extremely cold temps and even days of -10 wind chills around here in North Carolina. Now, we may be amateurs compared to some of y'all out there when it comes to the cold weather, but for us, this was pretty extreme. We're also supposed to have rain again and more freezing temps, so I thought this would be a great time for us to do this together. And I'll give you my top tips on pruning GREENSTALK gardens and some of the benefits of pruning. Now, before I start, just a quick reminder that I am not a GREENSTALK affiliate, but they did give me a link to give y'all $10 off your first order. So check that out in the description box. All right, now there are different ways to prune your plants, and some need more pruning than others. All right, Rue Boss. Today, I'm not covering all aspects of pruning. Today, I'm just pruning my greens. But the tips that I'm going to be sharing are going to be beneficial during any growing season. So let's get started. All right, these 8 tips do not directly correspond with what you see on the screen. I'm literally just taking you with me while I prune and groom this green stalk, and I'm going to give you my top 8 tips while I'm doing it. All right, so number 1, I pull the obvious dried pieces off the green stalk, and then I carefully pull out the dead leaves because I want to make sure they aren't attached to the good greens. Sometimes when these leaves dry up, they end up stuck to a good leaf, and I don't want to damage that good leaf in the process. But this simple step is a good way to get started, especially if you only have a few minutes, and it's going to make your green stalk look way better. All right, number 2, I don't add fertilizers or amendments until I've cleaned out the dead or even half dead vegetation. So if I see leaves that are healthy and overall the plant is doing well, I go ahead and pull the leaves that are brown, yellow, or black on the edges, and then I add the amendments. Number 3, help your plants spend their energy where it counts. So pruning your plants keeps your plants' energy from being put into vegetation that's not healthy. Just like me, I want my plants to spend their energy in the right areas and on things that will produce positive results. Hey, before I forget, I'm going to be creating a Facebook page called Morning Glory Farmstead Community Garden, and so more to come on that. All right, number 4, my personal opinion is that it's best to use some type of garden shears because this adds an additional layer of safety to your plants. They don't all have deep root systems, and there have been times, actually a few times, when I went to pull out a piece of lettuce and literally pulled up the whole root, and it took very little effort. It just came right out. So some of them are small and fragile, while others like kale grow a very complex and strong root system. So just in general, it's a good idea to use some type of tool so that you can be precise. That way you're not compromising the leaves around it. You're just removing the ones that you mean to remove. And I'm using scissors just because they were handy. So it really doesn't matter what you use. The point is just don't yank on the leaves. All right, number 5, prevent overcrowding like I have in some of these areas. I didn't groom these enough in some areas because it was so cold outside. Overcrowding can inhibit the next set of greens down in the bottom that are trying to come up, and it can also block sunlight. Now, if I have a few pockets that contain the same types of greens, I like to harvest them young anyway in some of those pockets, which helps to prevent overcrowding, especially like bok choy and kale, because I like the taste and texture of those when they're smaller and more tender. Some of the greens that are skinnier and longer and a little more fragile, I do let those grow to a larger size because if you don't, there's really not much to eat and they're just too small to harvest. Number 6, pull up the veggies or plants that are ready for harvest so that they don't go bad. And if I know that they're not going to produce anything else, I'm going to go ahead and pull those too. Now, if I'm waiting for them to go to seed, then of course I don't pull them until the appropriate time. But like today, I pulled out my experimental carrots. There's no point in managing that pocket of my green stalk if it's not necessary, because that's wasting my time, energy, and resources on dead vegetation or items that need to be harvested. Number 7. Don't cut off all of the leaves. When I harvest my greens, I don't cut off all the leaves. Leaving a few leaves is going to encourage the growth of more greens, and I usually have more to eat in the next day or two. All right, number 8. I check for bugs as part of my pruning process. This is the perfect time to move leaves around and check in those hard to see areas. I just keep a bag or a bucket close by and a paper towel so that if necessary, I can remove leaves that have bugs or eggs and throw them in the bucket, or sometimes I just use a paper towel and I wipe them off and throw that in the bucket. People have different ways of getting rid of pests, so just do what you're comfortable with. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I thank you guys for hanging out with me again. I'll see you real soon in the next video, and until then, y'all have a great couple of days. Bye-bye.